There comes a moment in life when someone hurts you so deeply that words no longer feel enough. You replay the conversations in your mind. You wonder what you could have said differently. You imagine confronting them one last time. But here's something most people never realize. The people who leave the deepest impact aren't the loudest. They're the ones who quietly transform. When someone hurts you, your first instinct is often to react, to explain, to prove your worth, to make them understand your pain. But every emotional reaction gives the other person something valuable, your attention. And attention is power. The moment you stop feeding that power, everything begins to change. Because silence isn't empty. Silence is information. It tells people you've stopped chasing their approval. It tells them your peace has become more important than winning an argument. And that realization can be incredibly uncomfortable for those who expected you to keep begging for understanding. Today we're exploring 7 silent behaviors that don't seek revenge. They create respect. Not through manipulation, but through emotional strength. Let's begin with the first one. Behavior 1. Stop explaining yourself. One of the hardest habits to break is the need to explain everything. Why you made a decision. Why you walked away. Why you changed. Why you finally said enough. The truth is, people who genuinely care about you usually don't need endless explanations. And people who want to misunderstand you will never accept them anyway. Every time you over-explain yourself, you unknowingly ask for permission to live your own life. Emotionally strong people understand something different. Not every opinion deserves a response. Not every accusation deserves a defense. Sometimes the strongest answer is no answer at all. Imagine 2 people. One argues for hours trying to prove they're right. The other calmly smiles, walks away, and continues building a better life. Months later, who looks stronger? Exactly. Confidence is quiet. Insecurity is loud. When you stop explaining yourself, people are forced to observe your actions instead of your words. And actions always speak louder. Many people regret hurting someone only after realizing that person never came back to beg, never chased closure, never tried to win the argument. They simply kept growing. That kind of silence is unforgettable. Behavior number 2, master emotional control. One of the greatest strengths you'll ever develop is learning not to react immediately. Most people live on emotional autopilot. Someone insults them, they insult back. Someone ignores them, they become desperate for attention. Someone criticizes them, they spend hours trying to defend themselves. But emotionally strong people choose a different path. They pause, they breathe, and they remember one simple truth. Not every battle deserves your energy. When you stay calm in situations that were meant to break you, you silently tell the world that your emotions belong to you, not to anyone else. That kind of self-control is rare. And rare things are respected. People often expect you to explode. They expect angry messages, late-night phone calls, or emotional arguments. But when none of that happens, something unexpected begins. They start wondering why. Your silence becomes louder than any confrontation. They begin replaying every conversation in their own mind. Not because you forced them to, but because your calmness gave them space to hear their own conscience. Remember, being calm doesn't mean you didn't feel pain. It means your peace became more valuable than proving a point. And that's real strength. Behavior number 3, quietly improve your life. The best response to betrayal isn't revenge, it's growth. While some people spend months talking about what happened, others spend those same months becoming stronger, learning new skills, taking care of their health, reading more, building confidence, creating a life that no longer depends on someone else's approval. Growth is silent, but its results are impossible to ignore. One day, the people who underestimated you may look back and realize they didn't lose the person you used to be. They lost the person you became. That's the kind of regret no apology can erase. Because success has a strange effect on people. It reminds them of what they failed to appreciate when they had the chance. So instead of asking, "Why did they hurt me?" Start asking, who can I become because of this experience? That single question changes everything. Pain can either make you bitter, or it can make you better. The choice is always yours. Behavior number 4, become less available. One of the biggest mistakes people make after being hurt is remaining available to those who never valued them. They answer every message immediately. They keep checking for calls. They hope that maybe this time things will be different. But here's the truth. When someone knows they can always reach you, they often stop appreciating your presence. Healthy distance isn't about punishment. It's about self-respect. You don't need to announce that you're leaving. You don't need dramatic goodbyes. Simply invest your time where it is respected. Read that book you've been putting off. Spend time with people who genuinely care. Work on your dreams. Take care of your body and your mind. The less your happiness depends on one person, the more freedom you gain. And ironically, that freedom often makes people realize your true value. Not because you tried to make them jealous, but because your absence revealed what your presence once gave them. Sometimes, the loudest lesson is the silence created by your absence. Behavior number 5, protect your inner peace. There is a point in life where winning every argument no longer feels important, because peace is worth more than being right. Many people lose years of their lives trying to change people who never wanted to change, trying to fix relationships that only one person was fighting for, trying to earn respect from those who had already decided not to give it. Emotionally wise people understand something different. Your peace is not something to negotiate. If a conversation constantly leaves you exhausted, step away. If someone's presence constantly fills your life with anxiety, create healthy boundaries. Boundaries aren't walls built from hate. They're doors that protect what matters most. Your energy, your confidence, your future. The strongest people don't carry every burden. They choose which battles deserve their attention. And that choice changes everything. Because when your mind becomes peaceful, your decisions become wiser, your confidence becomes stronger, and your life begins moving in a direction that no longer depends on anyone else's approval. That's when people often realize they didn't lose someone who needed them. They lost someone who finally learned to value themselves. Behavior number 6, let your actions speak. There is an old truth that many people forget. Words can inspire, but actions convince. Anyone can promise they'll change. Anyone can say they're successful. Anyone can claim they've moved on. But real growth doesn't need an announcement. It simply becomes visible. Instead of telling people you've changed, show them. Become more disciplined, more patient, more focused, more confident. Not to impress anyone, but because you respect yourself enough to become the best version of who you can be. The people who once underestimated you will notice. Not because you asked them to, but because genuine transformation is impossible to hide. Success has a quiet confidence. It doesn't chase attention. It naturally attracts it. When your life begins speaking louder than your words, you no longer need to explain your value. People see it for themselves. Behavior number 7, become someone they can never replace. This is the most powerful behavior of all. Don't spend your life trying to make someone regret hurting you. Spend your life becoming someone you'll never regret being. Because here's the reality. Some people may never apologize. Some may never admit they were wrong. Some may never recognize the pain they caused. And that's okay. Healing was never meant to depend on their apology. It was always meant to depend on your decision to move forward. The moment your happiness no longer depends on someone else's validation, you become free. You stop chasing. You stop proving. You stop waiting. Instead, you start living. And that's when something remarkable happens. The people who once ignored your value often become the ones watching from a distance, wondering how they lost someone like you, not because you sought revenge, but because you chose growth over bitterness. And nothing is more unforgettable than a person who turns pain into purpose. Remember this, silence isn't about making someone suffer. It's about giving yourself the space to heal. The goal isn't to make people regret hurting you. The goal is to become so strong, so peaceful, and so confident that their opinion no longer controls your life. Because the greatest victory isn't proving someone wrong. It's creating a life so meaningful that you no longer look back. If this message spoke to you, take a moment to reflect. Which of these 7 silent behaviors will you start practicing today? Sometimes, the most powerful response isn't a word at all. It's the quiet decision to become the person you were always meant to be. Thank you for watching, and remember, your greatest comeback begins in silence.